Now tune into another episode of A Gam Minute podcast. I am Gam, and of course I got my sidekick, my co-host,
Miss Gogetta.
and tonight, y'all, we have a special guest by the name of Jeanita Castile. Is that correct? Castile?
Yes. Yep. Castile.
Great. So we're going to hop right on in, but we want to thank you for coming out and talking with us tonight. So please introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners of A Gam Minute.
So my name is Jeanita Castile, and I am the founder of Power Mag 100. I do a lot of things, which I'm sure we'll talk about during this episode.
Great. So once again, we are elated to have you this afternoon. So tell us a little bit about, who you are. Give us a little backstory about who Miss Jeanita is.
Backstory. How far you want me to go back?
Far.
Like from
Let's
the,
go far.
from the beginning?
From the beginning. Like how did you grow up? Where did you grow up at?
So I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, in the projects, Diggs Park, and I grew up in a single parent household. I think that's kind of like almost like the typical story for that environment that I grew up in that area. In the projects, I think a single parent household, unfortunately, is the typical story. And so my mother, God rest her soul, I like to call her a functional alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And when I say functional, I had clothes, mm-hmm. I had, just different things that my aunt kind of really took care of. She held the whole family together. She was retired military. She had a good government job.
Okay.
And so she really held us together financially. But my mom was on public assistance. Like I said, she was struggling from a lot of things in her past. And she was very abusive. And so I have a sister. We are 11 years apart. And our relationship, even to this day, is super strained. Like, we haven't talked in years. And that's not because, I haven't tried. It's just because we grew up in that same abusive environment, mm-hmm. but our mentalities are different as it pertains to relationships. And healing is different. We all mm-hmm. heal in, in different ways. And
right.
we all have different journeys as to what our trauma or childhood, where it can take us. And so she's still dealing with a lot of those things. And I'm not saying that I'm not still healing through those things, but we kind of just took it in different, down different paths. And so my father, he was absent, mm-hmm. and he was abusing drugs. I didn't find that out until I was probably like 25.
Wow. That
he was abusing drugs. So I didn't meet him till I was 9 years old. He was in prison from when I was born to about 8 years old. And I remember him coming to the house at around when I was 9 years old, and I think he stayed for about a week. Mm-hmm. And my mom, because of her past, she was an abusive person. So she not only abused her children, which is my sister and I, but she abused the men she was with.
Oh, she ain't play no games.
Listen, I mean, Mom, anybody could tell you from our neighborhood, my mom was nobody to play with. Like, right. You didn't want to come on the porch. You didn't want to say nothing to her. I mean, drunk or sober. You didn't want to say nothing to her. She was, don't mess with Nita mom. That was right. My nickname. Don't mess with her mom. Actually, don't even mess with Nita, because her mama, she going to come out the door with a bat. She going to chase you down the street.
She be ready to go off.
Like, nobody wanted to be my friend. First of all, I couldn't have friends because my mom, she just was very protective, mm-hmm. overprotective. And, I was like the thing that she took out. She took everything out on.
Everything out on her, aggression out on.
Right. And so, she was known for that. And my father, I always said, well, who wants to be around this? So I made an excuse that he wasn't there because of her.
Okay.
Like, who wants to be around an abusive person? Okay. Like, mm-hmm. She literally boiled water and threw it over on his whole body.
What?
Oh, yeah. Wow. To this day, of course, because, burn scars, right. They don't go away. Half of his body is burnt. It's not funny. But half of his body is burnt because my mother threw scalding hot water on him. I remember a time she was dating someone, wow. and I'm standing there looking, and he running down the steps, and my mom got a waffle maker, and she beating him over the head with a waffle maker, and he got blood, running down his face. I mean, my mom, she was raped. My grandmother deprived her of certain things, food and all of that. So she in turn did that to my sister and I. And so there would be times where...
And your sister and y'all the same dad?
No.
Different dads?
We have different dads.
Okay.
And we kind of grew up in a house at 2 different times because we're 11 years apart. So she's older.
It's a big age gap. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so she left at 16. And because my mom stabbed her.
What?
Yeah, my mom stabbed her. She left at 16. And thank God we had a saving grace because our aunt, she didn't have children. So we would always run to her house. Which she lived right down on Indian River Road in Virginia Beach, and we would always go there when we needed a break from our mom. And so my sister left at 16, so that left me with the blunt of, to deal with everything that my mom was going through. And so, she would, I would be sitting there at the table, and this just giving like a backstory.
Right.
This is who Jeanita is. This is how I grew up. I would be sitting at the table eating food, and she would just think of something. She would always, when she started to drink, her past would just like, she would have this picture in her head of her past, and she would just like come over and just knock me out the chair and throw my food on the on the floor, off the table and stuff like that, and just start fussing about the things her mom did to her. It would be nothing I did, know.
Right.
I believe I was a good child, and I'm saying that because, everybody believed I was a good child, but I was quiet. I mean, what you going to do in a household like that? You ain't going to be running off at the mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, she would be sitting on the side of the bed in the middle of the night, and she would just be talking to herself about things she went through in her past. I mean, she would be talking about her mom, talking about her sisters, talking about her dad, talking about different things, just in the open, just talking to herself about her past. And she would get so mad about what she was talking about that she would just come run in my room and pull me out the bed by my hair and throw me to the ground and just like, and stuff like that. And, then I would get back to sleep because of, I had school in the morning.
Right.
And I'd go back to sleep, and then I would, wake up again, maybe 2 hours later, maybe it's 5 a.m. and she's still sitting in the same spot on the bed talking to herself about just random things. When I was in it, it was normal.
Okay. It became normal,
It was normal.
Right.
As I got older, like now when I talk about it, I'm like, wow, I wish I was old enough, wise enough to like, to help her or get some help for her, because that was really some mental things that she was going through.
Exactly.
But back then we didn't know about mental health.
Right.
We didn't know
Not at
about, psychiatry and,
Exactly.
getting people help for stuff like that. It was just normal. My mama got drunk and she talked to herself and she beat me.
Yes,
You know what I'm
So
saying?
she was having like real life type flashbacks.
Yes, she was having flashbacks.
On what she went through.
Absolutely. She would be in the shower and have a flashback. And I would be in my room or somewhere in the house, mostly in my room, and she would just jump out the shower. dripping wet, butterball naked.
Yeah, she had some.
And just come and just
She had
start
some
wailing on me and nobody really knew in the neighborhood what was going on. We didn't have a dirty house. My mom wasn't a sloppy drunk. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
She was behind the doors type of drunk.
People knew that she drank. People knew that
Right.
she got drunk, but people didn't know the extent of how she
What's
was
going
treating
on.
me. They knew that she beat me. You know what I'm saying? They were like, Barbara, leave that girl alone or whatever. But they didn't know to the extent.
Right.
that
So
I was-
basically, from when I'm listening to you, you're saying like your mom was drinking, even though she was a functioning alcoholic. In order for her to cope in her mind, she took to the alcohol.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you were young, did you ever think like, why me, or what's going on, or why is she this way towards me?
So that same grace that I had for my dad for not being there, because I'm like, oh, my mom mean, my dad don't want to be around that, is the same grace I have for my mom. I'm like, she's struggling. That's literally what I would say. I didn't hate my mom. Well, let me put it like this. I didn't know I had anything against her until I got older and started to feel the effects of what the abuse did to me. But I would say she's been through so much. That is why she does that. That is why she beats us. That is why she treats me like that. Because of her past, you know. And so, I mean, I knew what it was because of, you know. And so yeah, I mean, like I said, my aunt, you know, she was really a godsend, and I spent a lot of time with her, living and things like that.
So did your aunt know what was going on in the house?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her and my sister, like I said, my sister, we're 11 years apart.
She's older than you.
Yes.
Okay.
She's older than me, and so they would call CPS, you know, and send CPS out to the house. And there were times I had black eyes and stuff like that. And so at the time, my niece was born, and so my mother would keep my niece, and so my niece would, you know, when my sister would pick my niece up, she was like, "Mom, you know, Anita got beat today," or, you know.
But she never did anything to your niece?
No.
Okay.
No, she never did anything to my niece. You know.
So how old were you around this time when you was like having black eyes and the niece even noticed something was going on?
As far as I can remember, the abuse started around maybe 8 or 9.
Okay.
You know, and when that's as far as I can remember.
Right.
And it stopped when I was 16, 17. And that's when I, you know, left and went to school.
Right. So now let me ask you this. So when all of that happened, like what year did your mom pass?
My mom passed, and it's crazy because I forget the exact year, but it's been about 12 years since my mom passed. I was still in my 20s. I'm in my 40s now, so I was still late 20s when my mom passed.
Wow. You enduring all of that, how did it shape who you became in your adult years?
Right. And so in my adult years, I would say right after I went to Norfolk State. I didn't finish Norfolk State, but I went to Norfolk State. And the reason I didn't finish because, you know, I was sheltered, you know, and not a good sheltered. I was sheltered in my childhood. That's all I knew was. So the thing about it is I was bullied in school, and then I came home to an abusive mother. So I was bullied to the point where I would be chased home because I was the quiet girl in school.
Right.
I was the quiet girl. And, you know, of course, people, they think you're quiet, they think you're weak and stuff like that. And at the time, I probably would say I wasn't a confrontational person. I wanted school to be my outlet.
Right.
But a lot of days school was not. And so deal with that at school, go home. And so when I got to be like in my 20s, I was going back to school. So I could not finish school because I felt like a little peon in a world that was so big that I wasn't ready for. I wasn't ready to socialize because I did not know how to socialize. I wasn't ready to build relationships with men or women because I didn't know how to build relationships. I wasn't taught those things.
You weren't taught those things.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you was in high school, during your high school years, or even middle school, you didn't actually have friends.
I didn't have friends.
So you more had like a timid type of personality, or?
Yeah, I was very smart. I was very smart. Sometimes I was the teacher's pet. But friends, no. That changed when I got into high school because at that point I was just ready to get somewhere and get out. But yeah, I had one friend in high school, a girl. Her name was Brenda, and she her mother was kind of, you know, not like my mom, but not the same. She had a lot more freedom, and so yeah. And that one friend, my mom ended up spreading a rumor around town that was my girlfriend.
Dang,
What?
Yeah, my mom was ruthless, and so
Why did she do that?
Yeah, my mom, she was very slick with her mouth. Like I've heard some things, you know, she would say to me that you wouldn't even tell to a dead dog.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so she was just super like, ooh, you know what I'm saying?
She had no chill.
She had no chill with her mouth. It was some very, very, very terrible things that she would say to me, and so that was one of the things, you know.
So now, being that, you know, you endured all that, do you have any of her characteristics or no? Or you kind of like totally different from her?
No, I believe, outside of the things that people, first of all, we're not born into this world like mean and hateful people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the things that she went through shaped her, And so because she didn't have help, like today we have help at our fingertips, I like to believe. We have social media, we learn a lot of things from social media and things like that. And we meet a lot of people. Everybody I know now I've met from social media.
Okay.
And so, she didn't have those things. And so my mom, she was very creative. I'm creative. She used to sew, and she used to sell candy and sodas and stuff out of the house. And so
she was a candy lady.
She became, a candy lady at some point. And so, that's today you own a little business, what I'm saying? And so, she was very, she was very cool. When she was sober, she was very cool, down to earth, Everybody wanted to be around her when she was sober because she was the cool person. But when she was drunk, just go ahead and run.
Totally different person.
Yeah, it's totally different person.
So what did your aunt say in reference to your mom behavior? Because I'm assuming your aunt was totally opposite of what your mom.
Yeah.
Was. So what did she say to you? Like when she saw you beat up or when she saw you crying, what did she say?
She really didn't say much. She just did. My aunt was a doer, and so... she brought the first car, the second car. She, paid for prom and graduation and all of those things. And so she would just take us into her home, and her home was very comfortable. And, we had all the things there, the TV. We had a room to stay in. It was very clean. It smelled good. It was just like... Just being there was just enough for us. So she really didn't say much. She didn't say, oh, well, your mom is this way because of this. Or, she still would take care of my mom. She would say something like, that girl, she know better. I don't know why, I don't know why she treats y'all like that. But no real conversation
about it.
Yeah.
She just made y'all feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
She pretty much put a Band-Aid over the sore.
Yes. Yeah.
And knowing that when the Band-Aid came off, it was going to happen again.
Yeah, she did. She offered what she could, and it helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about your dad? When your dad came home, you said your dad was in prison till you was about 8?
Yeah.
So when did he step in? Did he step in at any point up until you was 16, 17?
No, so he came when I met him for the first time 9 years old when he got out of prison. He came to the house for a week. After that, I didn't see him for years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that week, did he see anything, though?
No, I don't think my mom was really concerned about me during that week. I think
that was like one of your
was
good
home.
weeks.
She was probably focused on that, but yeah, I don't think he really saw anything. And even when I talked to him, as I got older, really just recently, and he would say that he would hear that my mom would be doing things, but he didn't know to what extent.
Right.
Okay.
And even if he did, know then, I don't think he could have done anything.
Because
he wasn't in a position to do anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was already turning his hand paws up.
Right. And he was so far into his drug addiction. Yeah. My dad was it was 40 years.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
A drug addiction?
Yeah, 40 years.
So when he came, he did years in prison, then came home.
Yeah, and had been in and out of jail, prison for the past until last year.
Hold on, so he went. Okay, so you gotta catch me up on that. So he went back.
He's been back many times. There was a point when I was working in jail. I used to be a deputy sheriff before I became an entrepreneur, and so I worked at the jail for about 7 years in downtown Norfolk. And yeah, he was in there a couple of times when I was working there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did that make you feel? Your dad being in there, and you?
I'm an open book. Like we all, everybody got family stuff going on. There's no perfect family.
Right.
And none of your family members may be in prison or jail, but there's no perfect family.
Absolutely.
And so, they were like, Jeanita, your dad downstairs in booking. I'm like, oh, for real? So they would just
your dad's
right. And even when I stopped working at the jail and he would go, somebody would like hit me up and be like, your dad here. I was like, oh, okay, you in jail.
Okay. I know where you at now.
Right, exactly. So yeah, they would just keep me off the floor that he was on.
Correct, yeah. So he's been battling addiction for over 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So with your mom battling alcohol, your dad battling drugs, have you ever thought about not doing any of those things because of the addictive behavior in your family?
To be honest, it was never a thought. I like to believe I've always had like a different mindset anyway, but I've never been tempted by those things. Like I don't drink now. I've never smoked anything. I don't even drink socially.
Okay.
Because it's just not a desire of mine. Not that I'm scared I'm going to be some drunk laid out on the street, but it's just not a desire of mine. Yeah.
Right. So now, brand her. Well, I know you say you were a deputy, and then you started into the entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. What made you go from a 9 to 5 to saying, I'm going to do my own thing?
Well, and I think what really kept me from a lot of things growing up was I always believed that there was something special about myself, and I always believed that God had his hand on me. I found God at the age of 16, and I started going to church on my own. Okay. And that was really the turning point of like trying to change the perspective of the abuse that I was going through at home. Mm-hmm. And so my sister at the time, she was like a party girl. She was going to the club. She was dating, a lot of men. I mean, telling your business or nothing. Sure. But she started to like change. And so when she would come to the house, it would just be this difference about her that I just couldn't describe. And I asked her one day, I said, what are you doing differently? And she said, I started going to this church. And I said, take me. Like, because if it's changing you, you know what I'm saying? It got to do something for me. And so she took me to this church. And again, I was 16 years old. And I ended up joining. I ended up giving my life to Christ. And I was like deep in it. Like I wanted to be there 24/7. Wow. I mean, I want to be there 24/7. And I really started to see how things started to change in the house. And so after that, it was really around the time my mom stopped treating me the way that she was. Because when she would say something out the way to me, I would talk about God, and it would scare her. Not that my mom, she was a believer. She would talk about God. She would quote scriptures and everything. But when I would like throw something back her, like, I'm going to pray for you. Right. You know what? You need prayer. I'm going to pray for you. It was just like something would come over her, like she wasn't expecting that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that really, kind of started changing things. And, yeah, I forgot what the question was.
So you went from your 9. So how did you go from your 9
to 5? Oh, my 9 to 5. So I was saying that I felt, that there was something, special about me. And I said that the hand of God was on me. And so I always felt like super inspirational. I felt like that there was something. I always felt like there was something more to life. Mm-hmm. Like I saw people living regular lives. I saw people living like just existing day to day. Right. And I will always say, even as a teenager, it's something more to this. And even I remember being on a bus. I was like 17 or 18. I was on the bus coming from MacArthur Mall, and it was this man sitting beside me, and I just started talking to him about life and how there's so much more out there that he could do. And at the time, I didn't really know what I was talking about. I just had this like vision that I don't want to be stuck. Okay. I don't want to be bound by anything. I don't want you to control my time. I don't want you to control what I'm doing, because I feel like God has something more for me to do. So, in 2018, I was working. So after being a deputy sheriff in Norfolk, I went to, I did some other things after that, because I was kind of like tired of messing with the inmates, tired of fussing, tired of arguing. It was just, tired of that. And so I went into juvenile detention because I wanted to save the children. Yeah, that was a beast.
How was that?
Whew. Yeah, no, I couldn't do it. And so I moved to Northern Virginia because in Northern Virginia, you only worked 14 days out of the month, doing that, and made more money. So I moved to Northern Virginia. And during that period of time, I had kind of like gotten away from God, gotten away from church. I was like in these crazy relationships with men. Like just it was, I was just going through a period where I was just making mistake after mistake, and just going through some things relationally. And so I'm driving, and I heard, a lot of people say, oh, God told me, God spoke to me. But, God speaks to us in many different ways. There's not one way that God speaks to you. And so I heard a date in mind to leave my job. It was October 12th, 2018. And so I'm like, questioning it. I'm like, is this real? Like, and before that, I felt the pull anyway. You know how you just feel yourself like going in a certain direction? I felt just that pull, like, ooh, like my job wasn't bad. I had favor there, as far as like with the, my boss and everything. I didn't have anything to complain about. I only worked 14 days out of the month. Right. And so it wasn't, it wasn't like bad that I needed to leave, And so I'm like, but, I'm kind of good here, And so I went to when I got to work, maybe that Monday or something like that, I put in my notice, and this was like in June. Yeah, I put in my notice in June because I heard the date October. So I said October 12th, I'm resigning, I'm leaving. And so, over that time I was praying. I'm like, okay, God, if this was just me hearing this and this wasn't you, like, give me a sign, let me know, or whatever. And so after that, that date came, and I left, and I started doing, branding and, marketing. I was doing social media marketing first when I started. And yeah, just evolved from there.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And so you actually left on October the 12th.
I left the date that God had given me.
So had you already had what you was going to do already set up and ready to go?
I did not have anything set up. I didn't know what I was going to do. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I knew eventually down the line I would not work for someone. But I always tell people when I tell this story, like, I didn't have like a real skill that I knew of. Like, you see people, they start doing jobs, they in the financial world, they do taxes, they do nails, they do hair. Yeah. I didn't know what I was going to do, because I'm like, okay, so events. At the time when I was doing events, I really wasn't making no money. So I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do, Lord? So in my mind, what I was going to do was move to Atlanta, because, Atlanta, to everybody, that's like the mecca of black entrepreneurs. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to move to Atlanta, and then I'm going to do some events in Atlanta, then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But I didn't have no real, because, one thing about God is sometimes he'll tell you something, and he waits for you to act on that. Right. To have faith to act on that before he gives you the next thing. Right. And so that's exactly what he did.
And which is so crazy. Well, it's not crazy. The thing is, he does that, but we be wanting everything. We want like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Absolutely. Like, God, don't tell me to go quit my job. Yeah. And then I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, quit my job. Yeah. October 12th, and then what?
October 13th, I'm gonna be
November 30th. Right. I'm gonna be a mega or something.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. So at that time, were you kind of worried about, what you were going to do, how you going to do, how you going to survive?
I was not worried at all.
Oh man, that's good.
Because that's where my faith was at the time. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, if God sends, this is God now. If God sends you somewhere, I'm in his will. That's the only place I wanted to be, was in his will. It's going to be good or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't have a worry about that. I didn't think I was going to go and be a millionaire and make $1 million or, become famous overnight. I just wanted, first of all, I was just excited that God had a plan for me, and that he spoke to me, okay, leave and go pursue purpose. Right, okay. And so at the time, I didn't know what that was. And shortly after I did that and moved back to this part of Virginia, then I started building friendships and relationships and people. I remember this one particular lady, she does children's books. She has hundreds of them she's written. And so her and I became friends. And she said, you know what you're good at? And I said, what? She said, you're good at marketing your events and branding your events and getting these people to your events. So why don't you start doing social media marketing for other people? And I'm like, huh, what's that? At the time, I didn't know that I knew branding or marketing or whatever, but I was doing it for myself.
Wow. But it's good though, that you've learned what you've learned in such a short period of time, because in listening to you talk, it seemed like it's all lining up to where you're supposed to be going. know you said that you are a photographer, but you do not like to be known as a photographer. But the photography, it was like the catalyst for everything that's going on now. Would you say, or no?
I would say, yeah, it's one of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, everything is her. Mm-hmm. And I know, we were talking before the episode, and I asked you, why is everything ending in her? Like, what is so important about women for you?
Yeah. I believe God gave me, women. I didn't, go out searching for, I want to be this women's empowerment thing. God literally, threw it at me. And I talked about this at the last event I had a few weeks ago. And one of the things I said was, I know now that God gave me a platform for women because it healed me. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, okay. And so, in working with women, I've gone through, I can say that I've been doing this for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. And so in working with women, I learned a lot of things about myself. I learned a lot of things about women, and when I got like in my 20s, 30s, up until like mid 30s, I was a very hateful person. I was very hard. I just from the things that I had gone through, right. I had made a vow that you're not going to talk to me crazy because my mom talked to me crazy. Right. So I'm like, nobody else is going to do that. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to treat me any type of way. If I smelled that you were about to come at me a certain way, it will be on. Like, I'm going to get you before you get me. And I just had that rough, tough, thing about me. And so I wasn't very pleasant to be around.
Yeah, you basically formed the defense mechanism
absolutely
against everything
absolutely.
That your mom did.
Every woman was my mom. And so when I realized that God was like giving me this platform of women, I'm like, well, why me? I'm the last person that you want working with women because all I'm going to do is run them away because I'm going to cuss them out, fuss them out, be mean to them or something. But he kept giving it back to me, and in big ways, he kept giving it back to me simply because he knew that was soft in my heart. Mm-hmm. He knew that I would learn about myself. I wouldn't be healed now if it wasn't for me working with women because now I know what they need. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I've gone through some work and some things, working on, trying to figure out, okay, so this is how abuse made me. This is how, these things made me. I started to understand what other people was going through. Right. And I started to respond differently. Right. And when I really started to capture that, okay, God, these women are sacred to you. Mm-hmm. You love these women and you want something for them. And you've given people like myself who do this thing the tools to make them better women, like you're making me.
What I'm hearing you saying is that what they need, you had it. Their blessing was attached to you.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And, in turn, it just like created something in me that like really took me out of that place of having a wall up, took me out of that place of, just defeat. You know what I'm saying? Just took me out of that place of, looking at everyone like she's the problem. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you said your mom passed when you was 20 in your late 20s. Mm-hmm. So before she passed, did you and her kind of like build a mother and daughter relationship or even just a friend relationship, anything?
No.
So did she never came back and apologize or acknowledge
Well, my mom would say, because I never wrote her off. Mm-hmm. I would still go to their house, take her to the store. I would probably be over there almost every day.
She was still your mom?
It was still my mom. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She would still call me and cuss me out. That's just who she was. I mean, you would still, you would have to not talk to her for a week or two because I'm like, okay, that was crazy. Like, why you called me, cuss me out of my voicemail because I ain't answer the phone? Right, stupid stuff like that. But that was my mom. And so I didn't realize that I harbored a lot of things, towards her. There were certain times she would just randomly, like we would be driving in the car, I'm taking her to the grocery store, and she would say, I'm sorry, Nita. Just out the blue. Just randomly. And I would never say for what, because I knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, right.
Well, I remember one time, and I don't know why this sticks in my head, and to this day I remember it. she was sitting in the passenger seat and I was driving and my hand was kind of like on the armrest and she was like caressing my hand. And it felt like the most uncomfortable thing to me because I didn't feel that love. And that was another thing that helped me break through and really start genuinely working with women is because I couldn't connect emotionally.
Wow.
I couldn't connect.
You were disconnected.
I was super disconnected. That is the exact word. I was super disconnected. I didn't feel love. This is why I could be mean to you because, you know what I'm saying? I don't got no love for you for real. You know, so she was rubbing my hand and I just like, ooh, that feels so uncomfortable because you never nurtured me or loved me or I don't know what it feels like to be caressed or embraced.
Right. With
you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So when she did it, was
awkward. So when she did that, it was very awkward. So she would say little things sometimes that would let me know that she knew what she did was wrong. But no, it's not like we just like talked about it and we like, oh, me and my mom, we, super cool now. Actually, she went in the hospital on my birthday. She went in the hospital on my birthday. I was at the hairdresser getting my hair done. And my sister called me and she said, I can't get in touch with mom. I think something wrong. I'm going to go over there. I said, okay. And so my sister got over there. She called me, and she said, I'm about to call the ambulance because she's laying here. She won't say, she's talking out her head. She's talking about, a light coming to get her, and stuff like that. And I hung up the phone, and I was pissed off. Wow. I was so mad because I said, you ruined, first of all, my mom, she was drunk almost every holiday. So Christmas and Thanksgiving was like
so it was your birthday.
Crazy at the house. I felt like all my birthdays were ruined as a child. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I said, it's my birthday. You got a nerve to get sick on my birthday. Right. I got to take my birthday and deal with you because you won't do the right things. She was a heavy smoker. Okay. She smoked cigarettes. She wouldn't eat. My mom was probably like 90 pounds. Wow. She wouldn't eat. All she wanted to do was smoke cigarettes. I mean, chain smoker, like 20 a day, like all day. Right. And she had a stroke. She had a stroke maybe like previously to that. And I even went to the doctor with her before she had the stroke. And I went in the back where I pressed my way in the back because she was cussing me out. Don't come back here with me. Da, da, da. I just wanted to know what the doctor was going to say. And he literally said, if you don't stop smoking within a year from now, you're going to have a stroke. And that's exactly what happened. She had a stroke. While she had the stroke, she was in the hospital. They was, put a stent in her artery to open it up. She was asking for cigarettes. She came home and still smoked cigarettes. And so I'm like, you won't even take care of yourself. And now here it is my birthday, and I got to, reap the consequences of you not taking care of yourself. I was just so mad at her. And so I ended up I finished my hair.
Finished getting your hair done.
I finished getting my hair done.
We're going to finish this hairstyle.
Yeah.
And I took the long way to the hospital.
So you wasn't in a rush.
I was not in a rush.
You were still angry.
I was still angry. And I got to the hospital, and she looked bad. She looked real bad. And I left. I had ordered a cake from Walmart. I went and got my cake. I took my time getting back. I brought my cake into the hospital, asking people did they want some cake. Wow. I was disconnected. I didn't.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. So deep down, were you hoping that she passed?
No, because that wasn't even on my mind. Nobody had passed in my family except for my grandmother at 9 years old.
Okay.
Since then and before then, I don't remember nobody close to us really passed. Yeah, I'm just thinking, this is another time she's in the hospital. Not that she was in and out all the time, but since she had that stroke a year ago, you know what I'm saying, she had some complications because she kept smoking. And so I didn't think nothing of it. Okay. I didn't think death at all. Yeah. Now after she died, I felt really bad about that. It up until recently, it took me up until recently to really forgive myself for acting like that. You know what I'm saying? But then I realized that you really had some things against her.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
harboring some things.
Yeah.
Because you still was thinking about, although you was being nice to her by taking her to the grocery store. Yeah, it's like you was doing instinct. This is my mom. My mom need to go to the store. I'm gonna take her to the store. But when you said she touched you, you felt nothing. Yeah. So basically, it was by instinct you doing what you're supposed to do as a daughter, and your mom don't have a way to the store. Yeah. But with emotions, you didn't have none towards her.
There was nothing. No one.
Yeah. And that was all because of the way
Absolutely.
You grew up in
Yeah.
the way she treated you. She
Yep.
didn't show you love, so you didn't know how to give it
Right.
to her or anyone else.
Right.
That was a female.
Absolutely.
So did you feel that way even towards men due to the
No.
fact your dad wasn't around?
It was different with men. Men, I chased them because I wanted love from a man.
Right, because
Or your
the
daddy.
absence of
So
your,
you were
of your
saying
dad.
daddy
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah. Men.
Abandonment
So
issues, yeah.
my mom beat up her men. My aunt bought her men.
Wow.
She had a
you
little bit of
chased-
money.
yeah.
So not that I had like money, but I would take like bill money and buy gifts and stuff because I thought that was, you know, like, oh, you know.
So you was doing basically what your aunt did. So you was looking at your aunt.
Right, because I only had two examples. Either I be mean to him and beat him up, or I buy him.
Now, were you being mean to him once you got him?
No.
Okay, so you
No.
was nice to me.
I was super sweet. What do I need to do for you? You
People
know.
pleaser.
I was, yeah.
People pleaser are men.
Man pleaser, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man pleaser, yeah.
Because I wanted that love, and it never happened. It never, ever happened.
It never does.
It never.
Never does.
Right.
Even if it does, it's only for a
Yeah,
half a second.
yeah,
You're always gonna be
Yeah,
behind.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Oh,
that's
wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Oh wow.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm-
so that was a tough situation because you didn't know whether to beat him up.
Right.
And you know what? And then some, and it's kind of a good thing that you didn't try to chase them, then buy them, and then if they didn't obey, you beat them up because you could have did all three. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I would have won. You know,
she-
trying to beat a man. My mama was a
She
different
could have had
breed.
that. No, you could have had that. Your mama in you. It was in you. You could have beat them up.
That's
You know what I'm
funny.
saying? So that's kind of like a good
Right.
thing too. Like, I'm buy you this gift, and you're gonna sit here and accept this gift.
Yeah.
I'm going upside your head.
Right.
I'm gonna be an
right.
Indian giver. I'm gonna beat your tail and,
And
take
take
my
it
stuff
back.
back.
Right.
Yeah. So how important is it for us to empower other women?
Well, you know, like we were talking earlier, it's super cliche to say, oh, build the next woman up. But I believe in, you know, when you think about building something, in order to build, you have to have what? Tools.
Right.
Right? And tools just don't come easily. You have to have the right tools.
Right.
Right? And you have to know how to use the tools.
Skill set too. Yeah.
Right. And tools, you know, come from experience, you know, and so we can say, oh, let's just build the next woman up, but you have to build with intention. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And so, you know, like people who are in our position, we're in a position to pour back, you know what I'm saying? Because we learned some things, we've done some things, and so it's important to use our platforms. You know, like when I have stuff, when I have events, you know, people rarely see me get up there and make it all about myself. I'm always giving somebody else the mic. You know, I think y'all came to one of the events I had. Everybody got a chance to say something on the stage. The last one I had a couple of weeks ago, all 165 women got to say something on the mic.
Oh my gracious.
Not
Everybody.
165.
Everybody.
Oh, no.
It was 300 people there, you know, their families and friends and stuff. But all the women who were awarded, you got to say something, you know.
Right.
And at some point, you know, they get long-winded. So I'm just sitting back like, okay, tell your story, baby. Tell your story.
Yeah.
You know, because it's important and people want to be heard.
Yeah,
I've
that's
learned
it.
that. People want to
Yeah,
be heard.
yeah, they
that's
sure
true.
do.
People really want to be heard, and so I don't mind that, and now I've built the platform now to amplify the voices of women, and so I would say, you know, yes, it's important to build, but you know, you have to use what you have to help another person, you know, come up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next for you? I know you're doing the Power magazine. Okay, tell us a little bit about the Power magazine.
So the Power magazine was birthed really because of my story. You know what I'm saying? And so I wanted a way to tell my story. And so I'm friends with, you know, somebody in the community we all know. And, you know, he really, you know, was like, Jeanita, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story. And so I have a documentary that I made 2 years ago about my story that I never put out because out of shame.
Oh,
And I'm like, man, if people knew I went through this stuff, you know, not just my childhood trauma, but I've gone through some stuff during my entrepreneurship journey that I'm like, man, if people knew, you know, that I was going through that stuff, you know, I went through a period where I was homeless, you know what I'm saying, where I lost everything. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? And so because I'm still out doing stuff, because I don't believe if you get in the moment of, you know, a setback that you just stop.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So I was out here still doing stuff and had nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? And so at the time when I made the documentary, I'm like, no, I can't put this out. He was like, no, you put that out, that's really going to, you know, put you on the map. And I'm like, nah, you know what I'm saying? It was a little, but yeah, the magazine came because I'm like, I got to write a book or something. But, everybody writing a book. So I'm like, I'm going to because I'm a creative. Like, I'm going to do it a little creatively. So I'm going to put it in a magazine and then bring a bunch of women with me. And so because 100 is kind of like my number, and, I'm like, I had an event, Execute 100. It was 100 entrepreneurs praying. I was like, I'm going to do Power 100. So I'm going to use 100 women and tell their stories. And so every time I do it.
That is so churchy, though. 100. That 100, yes,
How's
it is.
it church?
100 women in hats. 100 women in
I've
black.
never heard that.
100 men in black. You never heard that before?
I don't belong to a church, and I didn't grow up in a church, so you know what I'm
yes,
saying? Like,
that
I don't
is
even,
so churchy.
I don't,
Yes.
maybe to somebody who's in that arena, but
Yeah, because I didn't hear that either. I'm like, really?
she's telling her herself,
Right.
But yeah. And so I every time I find 100 different women to tell their story, because I believe that my story it did a lot of things for me.
Yeah.
It saved my life. God will use everything for your good. You know what I'm saying? Like, God ain't make my mama abuse me. He ain't make a lot of things happen in my life, but He used it for my good. He didn't let it kill me. And so now I'm using it to help other people. And I believe your story is kind of like your legacy. You know what I'm saying? And so how many books are we reading from people who've long gone, and we're still reading their story. We're still hearing about their story, and it inspires us, It gives us a blueprint of, okay, so she did it like this, or he did it like this, so I can, you know what I'm saying? I kind of got, so
build upon it,
absolutely. So I think stories are super important, and that's why I have Power Mag 100.
Well, so how does it make you feel like when you saying like a couple of weeks ago when you had your event and the women, because I seen on social media a lot of women, like, they had no clue that somebody nominated them, or they just, some of them even did like little clips as to how it made them feel, right? So how did it make you feel watching those clips or even listening to those women when they were there that night?
Man, it was just seeing it on social media. First of all, it don't take, people think that you have to be on a certain level to have those things happen. I'm not Essence or Ebony or whatever the award, the popular award thing around here is. All I know is I have a heart for women, and I have a heart to see women win, and I have a heart to recognize women. And so it's just when you have a pure intention about something, it's gonna come across. And so seeing the women like, oh my gosh, Power 100, it's funny for real, because I'm like, it's just me,
right?
But at the same time, it's very honoring to see like your brand, all those social media, all these women, like and it's very humbling. I always say, no matter wherever God takes me, I want to be in a state of humility. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about, what God is doing through me. I'm just a vessel. He could use anybody to do it.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But he chose you.
Right. It's just, it's great to see and hear, and I'm glad that it's making a difference, because it wasn't always that way. And also, in doing things like that, this backlash still gonna come.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
because everybody
have more.
Everybody not happy for you, and everybody don't take it the same way.
No.
So you got to be prepared and covered for that too. You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah, because you're gonna get a lot of backlash.
Listen,
but it comes with the territory,
right?
Though.
It's just
like
a part of it.
And when you do it with pure intentions, then I think sometimes when you do it with pure intention, sometimes it may hurt a little more, because it's like, hold on now, I'm doing this out of goodness in my heart. I'm not doing this for no fame or fortune.
That part.
And it's like, oh, y'all still stabbing me.
Right.
That part.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But on the other side, it's like, okay, well then I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
Because I'm ruffling some feathers when it's not even like that.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, on one end, I'm like, wherever God takes me. But, if I had to plan the next 5 years out, really, I just want to continue on doing what I'm doing. One thing I've noticed about myself, and you guys are creatives, you probably have gone through this at some point in time. You have a lot of ideas. And so sometimes you implement one, and now you're on to the next thing, because you got all these things that, I want to do this, I want to do that, And so I just want to see it through this time. I want to stick with it and see it through, because a lot of times we complain about not having success in something, it's because we haven't seen it through. We did it. It was, had a little success to it, and like, oh, okay, now I'm bored. Now let me move on to the next thing. But not realizing that God gave you this thing to birth and raise.
Right.
It's like a child. It's like a child. You got to birth, nurture it, raise it until it reaches maturity and
able to function on its own.
able to function. I want to see it through.
And that's good that you said that, because a lot of times we do have a lot of ideas and we do want to do this and do that, but we don't follow through, because once we get to a certain point, we're going to the next thing. Mm-hmm. So, and I heard you say here recently on a podcast, you said about following through and being a good steward over what you have, which is very important. Yeah. Because when God places something in your hand, you have to realize what He's giving you. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying, you got to nurture it and
you're missing out on your blessings. Yeah. From like not seeing it through, because suppose this amount of money is attached to year 3, and you done stopped at year 2 and year 2 and a half, and you missed out on, you know what I'm saying, the fruit. On it. Would have not done this event because last year, I felt some things went a certain way, and some women talked about me, and I kind of like laid low for a while because I was so discouraged and hurt, like you said, because I'm like, me? Like how? You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't did nothing to you. Like one lady, of course, I'm not going to say her name, but these words stuck with me for an entire, 8 months. And I, didn't do nothing. I left social media. She said, there's more people against you than for you. She said, you think you did a good job, but there's more people against you than for you. It was really demonic. It was just devilish. Yeah. Like, who says that to somebody? Yeah. And I spent time with this lady. I interviewed her. We had, you know what I'm saying? I thought we had built something, because the thing about me is, and my platform is, I just don't do things for women. I do things with women, and so we're in close quarters. I'm taking your picture. We're spending time. I'm fixing your hair. I'm doing different stuff. I'm all up in your personal space. I'm hearing your story. We're sharing things, and so you build kind of something in that moment. Although we ain't gonna go off and be friends, and stuff like that. We build something in that moment, and so I shared the space with that lady, and she tore me apart on social. She put it on social media. Oh wow! She said she said that to me, but on social media she put, remember, the love of money is the root of all evil, Jeanita. Because she said I oversold my event because I wanted more money. Yeah, and I had to send her a cease and desist letter. Wow. Right, to take it down, because I'm like, you know what I'm saying, like. First of all, if you doing an event and you ain't making no money, that's crazy. I used to do that. Well, I ain't doing it now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a given. Yeah.
So she said you oversold the event for more money. Right. But she was at the event.
She was at the event. She got on stage. She talked, over-talked, really. Told her whole story and her backstory, future stories.
She told everybody's
story. And then had a nerve to get off the stage and post about me the next day.
What was that about?
Exactly. And so, but those words, I'm like, man, these people ain't really for me like I think they are. And it was, when I say...
But at the end of the day, though, for real, you don't really need them to be for you, because you gave them an award.
But it still hurts. You know what I'm saying? It's like...
Because she came to your event, and then she talked about you at your event after she accepted what you had to pay for to give to her.
Absolutely. And even if she didn't accept anything or get on stage, it's like, okay. So, and that's the thing we talk about, building women. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And she's much older than we are. So how are you a supporter, a builder? And she does women things. So how are you a supporter, a builder? But you see somebody doing, step in to help.
Right.
If you got, I take constructive criticism all the time now, within limitation. At the end of the day, we out here doing stuff because we feel that God called us to do it. That don't mean we don't need help. Right. Now, if I got to do it by myself, it's going to get done. Right. Because that's just what it is.
Right.
But when I have help, good help, to have good help, it makes it even better. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So help. Step in to help. If you see somebody failing, or you see somebody falling.
Yeah, you help.
Or be a cushion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That was unnecessary.
And so that kind of like put me in a space of, I ain't never doing nothing here again. People don't appreciate me. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. It was just a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. And that just created a door for the enemy to come in and play with my mind. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that happened for a while until God was like, okay, listen,
Enough is enough.
Enough
Yeah.
is enough.
Okay, you sit down, you mope in it now. You turn around, you wobble, you did all that, and let's get up out of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone to encourage another young lady who is struggling? She's trying to find a way. She don't know which way to go, but she knows she wants to do something, but she don't know what. What would you say to her to encourage her to?
Well, the first thing, and the only obvious thing that would come from me is seek God. Purpose comes from God. Purpose comes from a creator. And, in order to seek, which is just like, you have an iron, right? If you don't know how to use that iron, what you're going to do? Seek the manual, right? You're going to go to the manual, the manufacturer, the thing that made it to see how it's to be used.
Yeah.
And so just like us, so God created, you and I. And so we have to go to him and say, okay, God, what do you want me to do? Because anything outside of that, you're just going through the motion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I believe God gave me, so I wouldn't tell nobody anything different because I believe God gave me my purpose. God gave me, the path that I'm on. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the first thing, and that's the first thing. Secondly, it's the execution of it. You have to execute. Once, a lot of people say, oh, God told me to do this years ago. Okay, well, why hasn't it been done?
Yeah.
Because things work in times and seasons.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so what he gave you 5 years ago may not even be relevant right now.
Yeah.
You could be on to the third, fourth, fifth thing by now. Right. You know what I'm saying? But you got to step out and do that first thing that he told you to do.
Right.
Right, absolutely. So seeking God, listening to, what he has to say, and then the execution of it. The execution and then the follow through. Yeah.
Times in our this comes a part of the episode where we ask all of our guests how their time has been since they've been on Way to Gam Minute, and you're up next. So how has your time been
Here
Yeah,
with you guys? It's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I love what you guys have. I can't wait to see y'all grow.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I was on that podcast. I mean, I'm gonna say that now because when you contacted me and I'm like, well, dang, about time. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to be on the podcast too, But you guys are wonderful, and I'm just saying that because I'm in the seat. But I love this, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Last question to you is: I know you said something about being homeless as an entrepreneur. Can we touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that era in your life.
So, and that was, with that part, I kind of struggled with, okay, this is God's plan or this is something that I missed, right? For a long time, I'm like, this was God's will for my life because I thought I was Steve Harvey. What?
Thought you was Steve Harvey.
Why you thought you was Steve Harvey?
Steve Harvey got this story.
Yeah.
He was homeless. He
Oh,
was
okay,
living in his
okay.
car.
Yeah.
Yep. And now he a billionaire, right?
Yeah, right.
So for real, I was kind of happy because I'm like, oh, God, you about to do your big one.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Awesome. But, okay, it was, so when I left my job, and that's a thing that I can, tell people now, stay close to God. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you can get so excited about something that he's giving you that you take off and you run with it and you're like, oh, God gave me this. But there's another instruction to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so where I can say the things that I probably kind of went a different way was when I started out, I told you I wasn't either I wasn't charging or I was charging too little.
Okay.
Right? And another thing was, and so if you believe in God, you also got to believe in an opposing force. You know what I'm saying? They don't want you to succeed and win. Right. And so, my sister, I believe like the enemy started playing my sister against me because when I left my job, my aunt who raised us, she was dying, right? And so my sister and I kind of like, took care of her. And the house that she raised us in, I told y'all the story about us being there. My sister started to like take it over and like, oh, you can't be here. You left your job. You say you was moving to Atlanta. You ain't gone yet. Now, mind you, this house is still my aunt's house, right? She was like, I'm here now. You got to go. And so she made me leave. And I ain't had nowhere to go. You know what I'm saying? And so when I left my job, I had money saved. So when people's like, oh, make sure you got money saved. I had money saved. I probably had about $20,000, saved up when I was in Northern Virginia working. And so I came out of that, and I did an event at the Scope. Mm-hmm. The event at the Scope that took a lot of money that I didn't make my money back from. Because you just start taking leaps, and you know what I'm saying. It's like I'm just out here. You know what I'm saying. I'm taking leaps. I'm doing stuff. I didn't make my money back from that. I had another event after that where I flew down like this gospel singer or whatever. Because now I'm in my Jesus bag, and then I'm doing, you know, Christian events and stuff. And so I brought down a gospel singer, and I was charging like $20 for tickets, like stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you gonna make money back, and you pouring all this money out, and you charging $20 for tickets? It was just stuff that I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And so. Yeah, that caused me to, you know, between that and my sister, like, saying, oh, you know, you can't be here no more randomly, you know what I'm saying? I was sleeping in my car, but I didn't miss a beat.
Is that the reason why you and your sister don't talk?
That was one of the reasons. Well, we never, for all of our lives, we didn't have a relationship for real. Only time we had a relationship was if something was wrong was going on. If I had a problem, she was good. If I was good, she was out of my life. It was almost like she wanted... you know what I'm saying? You know, it was just a thing. Like, she thought I had more than I had. She thought I was doing, you know, she see the stuff that I do, and she's like, oh, she thinks it's just so big. You know what I'm saying? She thinks she can. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, no, but you can. Like, it ain't doing much. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, all you're doing me.
Yeah. Right. And so, you know, I believe that was her time to get back. You know what I'm saying?
So she put you out your aunt's house.
Right. Out of my house.
Did the aunt leave the house to the both of you? Or no?
She didn't leave the house to nobody.
Wow.
So that's kind of how that entrepreneurship journey went. I learned a lot of things. But God sustained me through it all. He brought people in my life, you know, like, it was just, but, you know, we making some money now. We ain't, you know what I'm saying? I ain't where I want to be or probably should be or... gonna be, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was a lesson learned, but I'm very transparent about that. You know, I tell it everywhere I go. It was a period of my life that I, you know what I'm saying, went through, and I got through it. And it was for a while too. It was like a couple of years.
You were homeless for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Oh, it was one time. I thought you were gonna say like a couple of months.
Oh, heck no. It was like for a couple of years. It was one point my car got repossessed. My car, now mind you, I was sleeping in the car, and my car got repossessed. At the time I was doing consultations, right? And so I was meeting people random places, like coffee shops, Starbucks. At this point in time, I was in downtown Norfolk. I was just sitting there talking to a person, yeah, you could do this with your brand, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was right around the time Popeyes came out with their chicken sandwich. They were going crazy.
Was recently.
That was just that was a few years ago, like 2018, 19. It was like 2019. Yeah, and we walked out. I told a girl that I was going to I'm going to Popeyes and try that chicken sandwich. I was not going to Popeyes that night. And the stupid thing I did was, so I was downtown Norfolk. It was a state troopers convention where we were having our meeting at. So it was a bunch of state troopers around, right? And I parked my car right there on the street like it belonged there, like, you know, like the tags won't expire, like the payment was up to date. You know, man, I walked around that corner. I was like, oh, they got me. And so, man, listen, the struggles of entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? And you would think, like, you know, I didn't, my first thought was, let me go find a job. That's the thing about it is that's how committed I was to my journey, because I'm like, I ain't going back to work. Like, I'm going to see this through. Like, I'm not going to make a fool of myself. I'm not going to make a fool of God. Because he told me to do this, so why I'm gonna go back on it just because I made a couple of mistakes? He gonna give me another solution out of this. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I got through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so if they repossessed your car and you was homeless for a couple of years, where did you go?
So when they repossessed my car, I was on the street for a little bit.
Like sleeping on the street?
Yeah, almost sleeping though. Like I was up 24 hours. So that on the street was probably for about 2 weeks, because I had a friend that came into my life at the time who she let me stay in her, you know, she let me stay there. And I wasn't like living there because, you know, I had this thing where I don't want no help. Like, don't help me. This is my journey. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, and it's so crazy because it was like it was like September, October time. And it's supposed to be getting cold around that time. But it wasn't cold. It stayed warm. It wasn't raining. I'm like, God doing this for me. Because he like, this dumb girl, you know. But, I mean, yeah, I didn't have no car. I didn't have, you know.
But you were still working.
I was, listen, I was the brand person. Like, Jeanita, go to Jeanita. Jeanita got nowhere to go. Like, go to Jeanita.
But at least you're able to laugh about it now, because I'm sure it was not funny then.
No, but you know, it wasn't a day I cried. It wasn't a day I was sad, because I thought I was gonna have Steve Harvey's story. I was like, God, but I might, you know what I'm saying? You know, but you know, it's like, I just knew God had something greater for me. And this was going to be like, I'm like, oh, this is going to make the story extra special.
Extra better, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it does. It's like, what? You went through that? And like, even people I've told, they be like, yo, I would never imagine, you know what I'm saying, that you would be going through, like, you? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Dang, that's a lot. That's a lot. But it's, I mean, it's,
because I think you took our pictures around about that time. No, you took our pictures in 21.
Yeah.
21, 22.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I wasn't even a photographer then. I wasn't doing pictures then.
Yeah. Stay tuned to All Things Way to Gam Minute.
Good night.